Look out!
Hey guys, and welcome back to another something a little bit different, episode 78. I am back with the man with the plan, Mr. Korean Cool, Mr. John Nance. Yes, this guy right over there. What's going on, brother? Love your chainsaw rabbit shirt, you know.
Dude, do you like my spirit animal? This is my spirit animal. Love it.
Chainsaws on all hands. You can never go wrong. How you doing, brother?
Oh man, doing all right, bro. How about you, man?
You know, this is a good week. I got a good night's sleep, so you know, the week had a couple days off in a row, so I can't complain. It's a little bit too hot out, so that's why I'm inside this nice air conditioned house talking to you,
Yeah.
hiding from the miserable beating sun. But you know what? Things are good. I can't complain, or if I would, no one would listen anyway. So,
That's what I always say. You can complain, but would anybody care? No.
No, not really. They're like, what is this fucking asshole? So today, guys, we're going to be talking about a film that Mr. John Nance picked. We're going to be talking about a film, honestly, I had never heard of until you mentioned. And that is a film that is worth mentioning. That's called The Big Man on Campus. There you go. Big Man on Campus. This is a really interesting film, and I can't wait to get into it. This is the big episode 78. But before we go ahead and do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've been watching. So I will turn things over to you, let you start. What have you been watching? What have you been consuming lately, John?
So I guess you could say this week has been the week of crazy what the fuck. Cause all right, so background, playing Dungeons and Dragons with our buddy Troy one weekend. My second daughter said, "Hey, John, have you ever heard of K-pop demon hunters?" I was like, "No, what the hell is that?" She's like, "Okay, you got to watch it." I'm like, "It's K-pop demon hunters." She's like, "Yeah, it's really good. You got to watch it." I was like, "K-pop." She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Ugh, okay, K-pop." We sat and watched it. I kind of dug it, dude.
Good
It's
stuff.
a CGI animated K-pop Dragon Quest regular anime type movie. My daughter watched it,
Mm-hmm.
which shocked me because she doesn't, she's very picky about what she wants to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, that was pretty good. And
Nice.
I can't disagree.
Very cool.
So K-pop Demon Hunters,
Uh-huh.
it's on Netflix, folks. Matter of fact, they actually re-released it in the theaters because when I went to go pick up tickets or purchase the tickets for the movie that I saw with my daughter last night,
Mm-hmm.
they actually re-released it as a sing-along movie version,
Oh, yeah.
like karaoke movie. I was like, damn, that's actually a cool idea.
It's cool.
But it was a cool movie.
Nice.
The second thing, as I just mentioned, we watched. Daughter and I bought tickets. Daughter and I went out to go finally see Weapons.
Nice.
What the frick, man? Holy crap! You want to talk about nuts? Holy crap!
That
This
fuck.
the team behind Barbarian did Weapons. That's a team that needs to stick together as best as
Yeah.
possible. I don't care what happens, relationship wise, interdynamics wise. You guys need to get beyond that, stick together because
Yeah.
you want to talk about a movie that is just it starts off as a slow ride,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as soon as you get to the point as an audience member, it's like, okay, when is something going to happen? Does it? Bam! It's the movie flips on you, right? And it throws a different perspective from one of the characters. And then it plays along, and then you see a scene, you're like, holy, what the fuck? What happened? What, dude? What happened to this guy? Bam! They switched the freaking perspective again to show you exactly what happened. And it builds and builds. And I tell you what, the daughter and I have agreed, and I've already trained my wife, and I just trained my son this morning, that when we see people run the way they do at Weapons at you, you knock them out, or you just smoke them like they were a zombie. Because holy, what the frick, that movie was crazy. It was good. wife or not wife, daughter immediately texted her group chat friends at college, was like, just saw this, WTF, 10 out of 10. And I was like, I that's awesome. I could only give it a 9 out of 10 because again, when they shoot movies in the dark,
Yeah.
I really wish they wouldn't go so dark that it's like it's intentional, right? They want you to feel like you're in the dark, but they want you to pay attention, but you're so busy trying to scan around, figure out where the frick are we? What the hell's going on? That you don't really catch what it is that you're trying to see it, right? Build up to it. I mean, there's definitely some good edits, good attempts at jump scares. But bottom line was weapons is definitely definitely up there with Barbarian in terms of just how freaking good a horror movie was.
Yeah. No,
Holy shnikes. That's all I can say.
no, I loved it, dude. I loved it. And the thing is, dude, like, so that lead actress, it's unfair for me to say I generally don't like her in things because she impressed me in the Fantastic Four, even though I know it was like a gender swap. But something about her just it's so unfair to like something about her just rubbed me the wrong way as an actress. She finally redeemed herself. And that movie was so good. What I liked about that movie is I went in kind of hoping for good things, but I didn't dislike Barbarian. I liked Barbarian, but I felt like there was some sort of missing ingredient in Barbarian. And when I went to this, I was like, well, I'm hoping it'll be decent. The trailer looks solid enough, but it starts off and you're like, okay, we're demonizing this woman. And they're like, okay, is this going to, the whole thing going to be about demonizing this woman? And they have so many moments where, like, just when you're getting settled in, you're like, they, like you said, they just throw something crazy at you. And by the time you get to that last like 10 minutes, you're like, what in the actual fuck?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, that was a lot of fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking to see whatever that director does next for sure.
Yeah, and I gotta say, folks, Amy Madigan, she plays a very pivotal character in this movie. That when you first see her, you kind of get like Kathy Griffin, what the hell am I just looking at type vibes, and she did an amazing job,
Oh
and
yeah,
the climactic scene involving her, um, not only was I laughing my ass off. It was like laugh, 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 laugh. Holy frick, look at that. Oh, laugh, laugh, laugh. Oh my God, you see that? Oh my God, laugh, laugh, laugh. Oh my crap. It was good. It was good. Definitely. Definitely
nice.
recommend it, folks. How about
Well,
you?
so it was a good week, man. So if you have an AMC or a Regal Theater by you, normally they do a program like once a month. It's called like the mystery movie. What's interesting is during the summertime, they've been doing it once a week, which is really, really cool. I normally don't get a chance to see this kind of stuff just because it's a Monday night, and during the school year, I work 2:30 to 10:30. So I've been seeing a bunch of them, and it's been really great because they've been showing a lot of like indie films. So this week I saw a film called Relay. It's by a guy named director David Mackenzie. You might know him from Hell or High Water, which came out in 2016.
Mm,
He did a movie called Outlaw King, which came out in 2018.
that was a
And
good
he
one.
did like a little mini series called Under the Banner of Heaven. I think it's on Hulu. If I'm not mistaken, Andrew Garfield's in it. But it got pretty good reviews. I haven't seen that one yet. But yeah, this is like a little indie film that would normally not play by me because I have a typical multiplex that plays like, your typical like animated film, the superhero films, but generally we don't get independent or foreign films. So I said, you know what? I'll take a chance on a mystery film. So the movie's called Relay. It's about an hour and 52 minutes. You have Riz Ahmed from Rogue One. He's in it. You have Sam Worthington, Lily James. And basically, it's like a little psychological thriller. And what the premise is, Riz Ahmed is basically like a broker for someone that is having a problem. So let's say you're like a whistleblower and you found out something about the corporation that you work for, that they're doing something highly illegal and you want to be a whistleblower. Well, now you can try to handle that on your own, or you can use someone like Riz Ahmed's character named Ash, who basically works as a broker to broker a deal, basically. Because a lot of these companies, if they're doing something they shouldn't be, they want to like buy the person off or they want to get rid of the person. In this movie, our main character, Lily James, she's the one that's a whistleblower for this big company. And she has people watching her and stalking her. They basically want to put the kaputs on her because she basically developed like a strain of wheat that would be a lot healthier for people. But of course, when they're doing the tests, they find out that it has side effects. And part of that side effects could be causing cancer causing side effects. So this company is about to make a merger with an even bigger company. And she tells them this, and they just want to like brush under the rug. So she quits and they start following her. And basically, they put her in this position where like her life is in danger. So Riz Ahmed works as this broker between her and this big corporation. And basically, it becomes this cat and mouse psychological thriller. It's a little smaller movie, like I said, a little indie movie, but it was really, really good. Riz Ahmed is one of those guys that I've really liked a lot. Pretty much anything he's popped up in. And Lily James, I remember just one of my favorite movies that came out maybe about 10 years ago was that movie Baby Driver. And she's great, you know, so the two of them are really fantastic. And then Sam Worthington, you know, if you can just kind of forget, you know, Avatar ever existed, which I try to do on a daily basis. He's actually a good actor. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's my own personal bias against Avatar. I know lots of people that like Avatar, and yeah, I'm not going to go too much into a rant. I think it's a beautiful technological achievement, but one can say a combination of the Smurfs and Fern Gully have both been done before, so why bother with Avatar? But you know,
each their own.
But I like James Cameron. Listen. I like James Cameron. I just think it's kind of he's like Lucas, where sometimes he gets obsessed with a certain thing, and he's not afraid to he doesn't want to let it go. You know, like
yeah,
you know, it's just okay. You're a talented guy. You don't need to make fucking 8 Avatar movies, motherfucker.
yeah.
But anyway,
anyway.
So after that, next on the list, I got a chance, and people are going to be in shock by this one. I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit this, but I've never seen any of the 3 original live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. I know, I'm an embarrassment to my Ninja Clan people. I bring great shame upon everyone. But you know, I played that annoying Nintendo game, the one that thing was a bitch to get through. I've watched all the cartoons, read a lot of the original comic books, and I even seen all the newer movies, the ones that came out from like 2000 on. I just never seen the original trilogy. And after watching this first film, they brought back the screen for the 35th anniversary. I'll tell you what, guys, if you're going to see it for the first time, see it on the big screen. The movie was a blast. I can honestly say, off the top of my head, this is probably a little bit biased in the fact that I saw it just on Friday night. I think it's my favorite of the ones I've seen. You know, now I haven't seen the 2 follow-ups to this, the ones that followed this too in the 90s. I hear they're a little bit weaker in comparison to this one, but this one I had a good time with, man. You have mostly unknowns. I mean, you have a couple big people like Ilias Katos, who plays Casey Jones, which he was wonderful, and some other people. But for the most part, mostly unknown people at the time. Just a blast. I mean, and again, I probably don't need to go into too much story-wise with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because we all know the origin of that, and we've all seen some sort of variation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I still have to report you for your
I know I'm a little ashamed.
Your international crime of not having seen.
All right,
but no, you're right. I mean, I did see it. First time I ever saw it was on the big screen. It was a precursor to I think even the original cartoon series on the Saturday morning cartoons. You're right, it's a blast. Yes, the second one and was it The Secret of the Ooze, and the third one is Turtles in Time. Definitely weaker of them, but just from a technical aspect of martial arts that they were able to perform in those rubber suits was just it was just outstanding. So I'm glad you saw that. That's awesome.
No, yeah, I had a really good time. And the thing that really impressed me the most was that, normally when you see people in rubber suits, it looks a little bit cheesy. Now, this has a sense of humor, obviously, just like any other variation of this content. But it was really impressive because, like you said, to be able to move around and do some of those kicks in the martial arts and still not look like it's a really crappy 80s canon group, version of Teenage Mutant. And don't get me wrong, I love that kind of stuff too. but like it wasn't that. I was pretty impressed that they were able to get what they were able to get, you know?
Yeah, because it was like and not to harp on it too much, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
what was the movie that came that followed the year after, I believe, was because what Ninja Turtles was 1990, I believe.
I want to say, yeah, 1990. So, you know, they,
1990. So yeah, so the year after that was and I don't know how many people have seen this. It's one of my favorites because I just love the anime, The Guyver,
oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
the
yeah.
live action. But to your point, that's a movie that took it where outside of the Guyver, it's the rubber suits. You could tell they were rubber suits, right?
Yeah.
Where Turtles, they did an outstanding job. It was a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
good
So no,
quality
that
production.
was
Anyway,
awesome. So and by the way, for people that probably most of our fans probably know this, but apparently Arrow's getting ready to do a big box set with those three original films. They're going to do. I think it's coming out in September, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the other trivia rumor to that was Eastman, I think, because they're talking about doing another movie, live action movie. He wants to bring back, I forget her name. She's actually a pretty good actress. I like her.
Mhm.
The original actress who did April O'Neil
Mhm.
in the 90s Ninja Turtles, they want to bring her back
Oh, nice.
to revive her role. So I think that would be pretty cool. So yeah,
Yeah, that would be awesome. Oh, that would be Judith Hogue. Yes.
there you go.
Oh, and
There you
also,
go.
I have to mention Sam Rockwell shows up in this movie, guys.
Yes.
Young Sam Rockwell. Now, of course, in the credits they list him as head thug. He's just a thug. I don't see any head thug in there. I was just gonna give him a little more boost on the internet movie database page there.
Yeah, but he's there. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't. I was like, holy shit, he's young, man. He looked like he was like maybe 19, 20 years old, if that. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Very young.
yeah. So and then one other final thing I'll mention. I saw Nobody 2, which of course Bob Odenkirk returning to his role of the assassin.
All right.
I like the first one a lot. I really did. It was like your typical like. I'm not going to mention spoilers. I'm not going to mention spoilers. I promise. It's basically you saw the first one. Obviously, I think most people have at this point. Like I said, you have this regular nerdy dad that's like basically working a full time job, the two kids, the wife, and all of a sudden, like he's thrown into this thing where he's like, you realize he's more than he appears. This is a continuation. He's overworked. He's trying to pay off money that he owes this guy that in the first movie he was dealing with the Russian mob. So now he's working for this guy where he's doing all these assassination missions and he's overworked. And in the meantime, his wife is being neglected. His kids are being neglected. He's not home nearly enough. So he says, fuck it. He says, fuck it. He decides to go on a family vacation to this town. I want to say it's called Plummersville, a place where he was brought with his brother and his dad when he was a kid many, many years ago. And of course, this town is corrupt and shit goes what you would expect from an action film. From what I understand, guys, it has like 84 fucking deaths in this movie. So it's definitely an action film. And if you like the first one, you're really going to like this one a lot. I think it's just as good, possibly even better, which is a tough claim. So the problem I always have with these type of movies, and I don't have a problem with this movie, but the problem I normally have with these type of movies is the same problem I had with John Wick and like I'll use Saw. Right after you see the first Saw, you know what to expect from the other ones, right? When you see the first John Wick movie, although the second one's pretty good, at a certain point it just becomes like, okay, he's John Wick, the ass kicker. The first movie for this, nobody, like I said, it was this nerdy guy, and all of a sudden he's kicking ass, right? So I expected to be a little bit disappointed with this because you kind of already know he's a badass. You know what I mean? So like, there's not that expectation of him doing anything different. It's just now, what situation are you going to put him in that's going to frame it differently and make it interesting? But they still make it interesting. The comedy is there, which is what I love about the first one. The comedy is really strong in the second one, and the family dynamic is awesome. And of course, we have people like Christopher Lloyd, who's wonderful. I'll watch anything with Christopher Lloyd in it. So he has a nice role as grandpa. And believe it or not, I didn't even recognize her. She plays the lead villain, Sharon Stone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I had no idea it was Sharon Stone because her hair is like super slick back and she looks different. And obviously, she's an actress, so she's supposed to embody the role. But it didn't remind me of Sharon Stone. I didn't realize it was Sharon Stone until I got to the fucking end of the movie and I saw the end credits.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, yeah. So it's her character is like a typical like one-dimensional head villain type. There's not too much depth to her, but it's an action movie. And if you like action movies, and if you like the first one, guys, you're not going to be disappointed. It's just as good as the first one. You're in for a good time. So,
Yep.
other than that, I continued my Dawson's Creek marathon. More melodrama. Got to go back to the creek. I know. I brought great shame upon everybody. We all have our guilty pleasures, but I don't have guilt, so therefore I don't have guilty pleasures. Okay, damn it. It's funny because I was watching it with the other half, and she was commenting. She's like, "God damn it, these fucking people! They just can't get their shit together. All they do is fucking argue and go from one person to another, and they can't get their life together." And I'm like, it's a fucking melodrama. That's the whole point. You're supposed to indulge in this cheesiness. So
I like her. She was
exactly.
right. She's right.
I was watching that. I was watching a little bit of Titus, more Titus, and that's pretty much it for me. So yeah, that kind of wraps up what I've been watching, and that brings us to our movie. We're talking about Big Man on Campus, which came out in 1989. This is a cool little independent film. You were very kind, by the way, John. I told him I didn't have it, and I told him it was streaming somewhere. He's like, "Oh, dude, I'll pick it up for you." It's like, "Okay, I'm not going to complain." And Kino Lorber has always been a label that puts out wonderful stuff, guys. And what's great about Kino Lorber, besides putting out great stuff, is 9 out of 10 times, like it seems like almost every other month they're running a sale. And usually when they release something, they usually fully load it with extra stuff. Like this thing, not that I care about the slipcover, it came with a slipcover. And then besides that, it even came with like a ton of it came with a commentary, it came with behind the scenes, it came with like an alternate ending. So it's a pretty fully loaded disc. So it's
Yeah.
definitely worth picking up. And as far as I know, I think right now Kino Lorber still currently has that sale. So you can pick it up for a pretty reasonable price. So it's definitely one that I think most people are going to want to add to their collection.
Yeah, I
Um,
think yeah, Kino Lorber. High praise to Kino Lorber for putting this out. Man, I've been looking for this movie. It always pops up into my brain every once in a while, and I'm like, man, I gotta find a copy. Gotta find a copy.
yeah.
And sure enough, one day there's the Blu-ray. Bye now. So
Absolutely, man. I love when you're like, there's certain films like I'm the same way. There's certain films that like are in the back of my head that I'm always waiting for a Blu-ray release or a 4K release. And every so often I'll just hit Google and I'll enter a movie. And then once in a blue moon, I'm like, all right. Like a couple weeks ago, I was thinking about a movie that I own on DVD by John Waters called Cecil B. Demented. I love this movie. I
yeah.
love Cecil B. Demented. And I was like, fuck it. Maybe somebody like some boutique label put one out, or maybe with this company, I put one out. And I think it's Second Sight Films, but they're getting ready to release a nice 4K release. I think it's coming out in November. Now it's expensive because Second Sight Films, I want to say they're in Australia, so they do hit
I
you
think
with
so.
they hit you with the shipping. So what you do is I usually find a couple films because that way you can at least justify the shipping charge because they're one of the places because they're coming from Australia. I think it might be like a $15 shipping fee. So,
Yeah.
and then of course it's a boutique thing, so they're hitting you for the 4K. But I absolutely adore that movie, so I'm probably going to pick it
Yeah.
up. Yeah,
Pull it. Do that trigger. Pull the trigger.
absolutely. So I'll get into the actual film now. So like I said, this movie came out in '89. It was originally called, believe it or not, The Hunchback of UCLA. That was the original title, but they changed the title to Big Man on Campus to reflect the broader theme of integrating a unique individual into a university setting. And apparently, it was actually filmed at the University of Southern California, of all places, which I guess made more sense because probably UCLA it's probably cost a little bit extra bucks too, I would imagine, if you want to film there as well. So it kind of makes sense. Um, but yeah, so that came out in '89. It's directed by a guy named Jeremy Kagan. He did a lot of TV stuff, mostly stuff like, Columbo. He'd worked on like some ABC after school specials. Remember those from the '80s? That was a staple of every Saturday morning after you watch your Saturday morning cartoon. They were
Yep.
after school special. He worked on stuff like Ally McBeal, Heroes, The Big Fix. A couple films like The Sting 2, The Journey of Natty Gann, The Trial of Chicago 8, stuff like that. But for the most part, it seems like mostly a television career for the most part, with a handful of exceptions. Now we get into our writer. this is actually pretty interesting. Our writer is not only our writer, but he's also a star, Allan Katz. He stars as Bob. Um, and what's interesting, and I'll give it his full title later on in the film because it's a mouthful, guys. Um, Bob is mostly a writer. He's done some acting stuff. And what's interesting about this film, we were talking off camera beforehand, and I didn't realize this. He did a smart move. He wrote the screenplay. They eventually found some interest in the film, but they wanted someone that was a more recognizable name, and they were trying to negotiate a price where he would sell the screenplay, but he wouldn't star in the role. And they actually got him up to $1 million. But he was talking to a friend of his, and one of his friends said, "Hey, listen, the money's nice, but you'll have other opportunities to make more money. If you're interested in acting, you take the lower paycheck and star in the movie." And he ended up starring in the movie as well as being the writer. He's done stuff like for television, Sanford and Son. He worked on 6 episodes. MASH, Roseanne, Blossom, something called the Jackie Gleason Special in '73. He worked on that. He did a movie in 2015 he wrote called Bucky and the Squirrels, and then another film in 2007 called Metamorphosis. So he's one of these guys, I think, mostly known for the writing and a couple acting debuts here and there. Moving on to our cinematography.
I know. We're gonna throw because Allan Katz, we got to talk a little bit more about him because.
Well, yeah, I was going to talk into his acting career when I got to the acting, but that's not. Yeah, no,
Oh
absolutely.
no, I was talking about his writing career
What
because
I
this
missed.
man's a legend, right? Folks who have followed some of those great shows that you mentioned, like Sanford and Son, MASH,
Oh, I love MASH.
is definitely this man he was a legend. He was a producer for the TV show with Mayim Bialik. For those would know, Amy Farrah Fowler from Big Bang Theory, who
Oh,
actually has a PhD in neuroscience. So she
oh,
is a smart and funny cookie. And I remember watching that show. You're right. He's only done like a couple acting gigs, right? And
yeah,
Big Man on Campus, as you said, bless his friend and bless him for doing it because I don't think anybody else could have done it. You mentioned it. He started writing the screenplay, but he started writing it in 1981. His words. He started writing it in 1981, and it wasn't until he like kind of got it completed that's how he started generating that little bit of interest and buzz was showing it to his friends, and his
yeah.
friends reading it loved it, right? I mean, and like I said, this guy's you write for MASH, Sanford and Son, Blossom. What's another great one? The Jackie Gleason. Supposedly he was also the youngest writer on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. And
Oh,
if
yeah.
anybody knows about TV and comedy shows, Roland and Martin. Is it
Mm-hmm.
Rowan and Martin?
Mm-hmm.
Laugh-In. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, he's only had a couple acting gigs, Big Man on Campus and Bucky and the Squirrels. Here's what I found something interesting. Have you ever heard of a guy named uh, James Balsamo?
The name sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
I really haven't heard. I might have heard of him, but it's like regardless. Apparently, he's supposed to be coming up in a production of his called Robot Dracula.
Oh, the title. Yes, yes, that title is amazing, dude. How can you go wrong? I saw that too. I'm like, Robot Dracula. That's awesome.
I saw that. I had to dive a little bit deeper because, like, holy, what the flip?
Yeah,
The casting on this dude, you got people from Malcolm McDowell,
yeah,
Mick Foley, Afro Man,
yeah.
um, Michael Berryman, another legend in the horror movie industry, folks. Um, Ron Simmons, if wrestling folks, nerd, APA protection outfit. Oh my God. It's like this whole cast is nuts. What's he doing? And it looks like it's still in production, pre-production. I don't know, but it's supposedly coming. And listening to the commentary track, the history of how his writing career comes. Apparently, he's still writing,
Oh, okay, nice.
but he's not like doing it for profit or doing it for shows. He's still writing, and you know, looking back on his writing career and understanding his full history in the entertainment industry and comedy, man, I got to see if he's put out some like memoirs or a novel because I got to get inside this man's head because this movie is something else to behold.
Oh
I
yeah.
just had to throw that in there. Sorry.
No, no, no. Listen, anytime you have anything to add, because sometimes I miss stuff, man. I do try my best to get all the details, but there were sometimes like this movie, I couldn't find a lot of stuff about this movie. There was some stuff buried here and there, but it was hard to unearth like some of the details. So
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about that because you're right. This movie is kind of an enigma
yeah,
of why it's not really as prevalent as it should be.
yeah, yeah, no, for sure. So moving on to our cinematographer, we have a gentleman named Bojan Bazelli. This guy's got some decent titles under his head. He's got like Tape Heads in '88, Pumpkinhead also '88, a gnome named Gnorm. There you go. But then he's got some respectable stuff like Deep Cover, which is a great movie.
Lawrence
Criterion,
Fishburne.
yeah, great movie. Boxing Helena, Sugar Hill, Body Snatchers, The Ring. I mean, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Hairspray, um, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, The Lone Ranger, Underwater. The guy's got a pretty good mixture of like this stuff like this, but then you see some of the other stuff later on, and you're like, wow, you know what I mean? Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
place his career.
Yeah, I mean, digging back into his filmography, or it's like holy crap. I didn't realize the depth that he went. Like you said, yeah, Deep Cover. The one before that was with Christopher Walken, The King of New York.
Yes, yes, King.
Classic one. And he was still doing stuff as recently as 2021. And I hate to mention it. I hate to mention it because this is a bone of contention with Troy and myself.
Uh-oh.
He was the cinematographer on 2021's G.I. Joe's Snake Eyes
I haven't
origin
seen that
movie.
one, so it's that bad.
Okay, don't rush out to go see it. You might love it. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah. Yeah.
woo Goose Favre. But anyway, and you
That's
mentioned Underwater, which was one of those titles that kind of like snuck under the radar.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Not a huge Kristen Stewart fan, but that movie was pretty damn good,
Yeah,
my
yes.
opinion. It was pretty damn good.
Yeah, she's
So
one of those
this,
ones that she's hit or miss, but when she does catch something that's good, it's good. You know,
yeah,
I got to give her credit.
yeah, and like you said, Bazzelli, it's just it's one of those things that you look at his total filmography, and then you see Big Man on Campus.
Yeah.
Wow, wow.
I've noticed as we're doing this. Well, I mean, I noticed it before we were doing this together formally, but it's something I've noticed over time is when we talk about a lot of our cinematographers, I feel like some of them had to start from somewhere, just like our actors and our directors. But also, what's interesting is I feel like because you're a cinematographer, you're so interested in catching the images and stuff like that. Whereas a director, he's like the composer or the ringmaster of the circus, where they're focused on directing everything. I feel like the cinematographer, they're focused on capturing that perfect image so beautifully. So I feel like they're not as obsessed with the overall thing. Like they want to be a part of a project they believe in, but if it's something that they can do something visually, add something visually beautiful, they'll go on to something that like some director might be like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do that. You know what I mean? Like whereas if they
Yeah,
like
and
there's more versatility because they're not invested as much as maybe different elements of the film as a director would be. You know
yeah, I
what I mean?
don't disagree. I don't disagree, and it just goes to show that sometimes as we talk through movies, right? New levels of appreciation come forth because you just simply look at what they've worked on. You
Yeah.
realize that a lot of the stuff that you've enjoyed, you love,
Mhm.
they've touched, right? And you're like, you know what? Much more respect, much more love, and it's kind of it's a refreshing trip
Yeah.
to understand that you love a movie because of this person, because of the cinematographer, because of the writer, because of the director, because of the composer.
Let's face it, I'm sure with you as well, there are certain filmmakers like if I hear like I like a lot of the indie stuff, and if there are certain directors that I know are doing something, I don't care who's in it, I don't care what the trailer looks like, I'm there. Now
Yeah,
I might end up regretting that later on because I might end up having that might be the one shit film they make. You know,
yeah,
that happens every once in a while, but usually if it's somebody you love, like whether it's an actor or more for me, it's more of like screenwriter or director specifically, and of
right.
course, the occasional cinematographer, I will go without a doubt. That's it. I'm watching it. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
No, absolutely.
It's one of those
Absolutely.
people. It's one of those things where I don't care about the rest. I know I can count on this person. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
moving on to our composer, we have a guy named Joseph Vitarelli. He's been in stuff like, or not been in, he's worked on stuff like Encyclopedia Brown, the TV series from the 80s, How I Got Into College, The Last Seduction, Kissing a Fool, um, Muse of a Fine, a bunch of television stuff mostly, a handful of movies, but not too big of a career to note on. So I didn't write a ton of stuff for him. When we get to our editor, we have a gentleman named Mr. Howard E. Smith. He's worked on stuff like The Twilight Zone, the movie from '83, River's Edge, Near Dark, Point Break, Strange Days, The Crow Salvation, Blade Trinity, The Merry Gentleman, Knights of Badassdom. So again, this is another one of those guys that like you look at his career, just like we were talking about the cinematographer, his career is all over the place. Some more prestige projects, some more like low budget kind of things, but it's interesting to see him do this kind of the amount of stuff that he's done and the versatility of the stuff that he's done. And that brings us to our cast. And today we're going to focus mainly on our main cast, starting in the role of, and I'm going to try to get this right here because lots of this name, Bob Maluga Luga Luga Luga. If I got that correct, that's four Lugas.
One Maluga, four Luga. Maluga, Luga, 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 Luga.
He is playing the role of Allan Katz is playing the role of Bob Maluga Luga Luga Luga, the Hunchback.
Four Luga, four Luga.
Four Luga. Well, we'll just kind of roll with it. You know what I mean?
There you go.
I'm too lazy to focus. Okay. He's mostly known for this, like we mentioned earlier. He is our screenwriter. He's done stuff like Bucky and the Squirrels, which also sounds like an interesting film that comes out in 2015. And like you mentioned, a movie that's coming out hopefully soon is called Robot Dracula. So, I mean, all I got to hear is robot and Dracula. Those two words by themselves are amazing, but you put those in a title of a movie, and I'm a day one movie watcher.
Exactly.
But he's also known for being a producer as well, working on MASH, a show called We'll Get By, Roseanne. He worked on 24 episodes as a producer. Blossom, besides working on a couple episodes as a writer, he worked on 22 episodes as a producer on that. And then, of course, this Bucky and the Squirrels movie I just mentioned, he also directed and wrote, apparently, besides being a producer. So he's really invested in Bucky and the Squirrels.
Yeah, he's a legend. Legend.
Yeah. And to play my hand a little early, and I'm sure you're probably going to agree, he captures this role quite well. So, as an actor. So our next lead, we're going to talk about a gentleman named Corey Parker, who's playing the role of Alex. And he's kind of like a slacker kind of college character. We've seen him before in like these type of movies where he's the underachiever type. He's worked on a bunch of different stuff. He's worked on Friday the 13th, A New Beginning in '85. He worked on the film 9.5 Weeks, Biloxi Blues, How I Got Into College, The Rainmaker, Fool's Paradise, and something called Grace. What's interesting about him, a little minor trivia, his mom, believe it or not, was married to Patrick Dempsey at one point, even though she's 27 years older than him. And so he knew Patrick Dempsey as a kid. I don't know how long the marriage lasted, but I thought that was pretty interesting. By the way, Patrick Dempsey was literally 1 year younger than he is. So
yeah,
mom was after that jailbait, so nothing. Exactly. Guys get shit on. I understand guys get shit on when we chase the younger ladies, but women, it's like, oh, you go, girl, you go, girl. You get a lot of high fives. Look at DiCaprio, for Christ's sake, that poor guy. So what if the women are younger? He's not a fucking bad guy. He just likes that young ass. What are you gonna do?
What do you do? Yeah, another thing too that he did. They actually, I think it was Fox. He has a TV show on Fox. Had a TV show on Fox called Flying Blind with Tia Leone that he starred in. That lasted actually a couple seasons.
Oh, okay, nice. I missed
and
that.
Trivia. Apparently, he's an acting coach who still works today. One of his most recent ones Ms. Marvel.
Oh, okay.
Now, I don't know who he was supposed to help, but if it has any idea, or if I have any idea, she needs some more help. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Oh my God.
And what's funny is I visited his site, his website. I'm not going to give it out because, we're not, Corey Parker, you guys know how to use Google. But
Yeah.
apparently one of the very first pictures for testimonials is a certain Patrick Dempsey. So apparently he's like,
Nice.
even though even though you banged my mom, I'm going to help you act. So one of those deals.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And apparently he also coached Mr. Sean Diddy Combs for his Broadway production of Raisin in the Sun. I think he was providing baby oil for him, maybe. I don't know.
I plead the fifth.
Starring in the role of Kathy, we have Miss Malora Hardin. And it's weird. When I saw her, I felt like I had seen her in a lot more than what her resume is saying. Like I felt like she was one of those faces that I've seen in like a million different things. But she still pops up. She pops up in one of my favorite movies, Iron Eagle in '86. I keep on waiting for somebody to put together a box set of those films. I really want those things in a box set.
4K box set.
Actually, absolutely, dude. I would buy it day one. Um, she pops up in stuff like Magnum PI, Different Strokes, The Love Boat. She does have some interesting stuff. Like I know it's problematic these days, but fuck it, I still enjoy it. Soul Man. She pops.
Oh,
It's just a movie, people. It's a piece of fiction. If you are offended by it, that is on you.
oh, it's still an awesome movie. Oh,
Yeah,
anyway,
all right.
continue.
See Thomas Howell, man. It's a good fuck. It's a good film. But she also pops up in Lambada, or yeah, Lambada in 1990, The Rocketeer, and for all us nerds who love time travel, she pops up in 2 episodes of Quantum Leap. So you automatically gets points for popping up anything, any
Yeah.
actress or actor that pops up in Quantum Leap. I'm all for it. Like believe it or not, Jennifer Aniston before she was in Friends popped up in an episode of Quantum Leap. So there's lots of
Yep.
it's always cool to see like these little interesting like cameos by people that pop up in that show.
Yeah,
Um,
Malora. Yeah, I'm sorry,
no,
Malora. She's one of those actresses that is just she's beautiful throughout the years, right? She's like a Courtney Thorne Smith, right?
yeah,
Just absolutely gorgeous. And you're right. She's been, her filmography, especially with television, just so prolific to some of the shows that I know I've hit and I love. One of the ones my brother and I used to love catching every time a new episode dropped. She pops up in an episode of Tour of Duty, which
oh,
was
okay.
a phenomenal show.
Mhm.
And then, because she did a lot of TV, her movie roles aren't as prolific. But
Yeah,
when she showed up in Rob Schneider's The Hot Chick,
yeah. I was gonna mention that one. Yeah,
oh my God. She did a hilarious. She was hilarious in that movie.
yes.
She's fantastic. She is fantastic. And again, once you've seen her face and you kind of know her name, that face and that name stick together. She's still out there. She's also apparently a singer.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, yeah, did I forget which sports team, but did a couple national anthems before the game, which is a very big deal.
Mhm.
So she's all around, and my understanding, she's like one of the sweetest people out there. So, I think she's just amazing.
Certain people they just read, you just get a general vibe of who they are, and sometimes you're wrong, but a lot of times you're not. And she kind of seemed like that type of person.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, so she's in it, and like I said, it surprised me because, like I've said, I feel like I've seen her all a million times before. It seems like she's one of those women that should have popped up in like a millions '80s movies. She just has a
Yeah,
very specific
yeah.
look.
Oh
But
my God. And I apologize, folks. Dude, how could we forget one of the biggest American comedy TV series to hit, even though it was a British original series? She
mm,
was in The Office.
oh, okay, I didn't. Yeah, I don't know how I missed that one, man. I
Yeah.
can't. Yeah,
I
shit.
can't believe I forgot about it. Yeah, The Office. She was Jan. Um, yeah, yeah. I can't believe I forgot that. Holy cow.
Yeah. Well, I missed it too. So I'm just as guilty. So
So shame on both of us.
I know, seriously. Well,
Apologies, Malora.
that's okay. Next, we have Mr. Tom Skerrit. He's playing Dr. Richard Webster, who's the head of the university psychology department. Now, Tom Skerrit is one of these guys that you gotta love Tom Skerrit. He always pops up in
Legend.
roles,
Legend.
stuff like My Three Sons, My Favorite Martian, The Time Tunnel. Mannix, if you look at early in his career. But then he was in stuff like the actual movie for MASH that came out in 1970. He pops up in Harold and Maude, Up in Smoke, Alien, Space Camp, Steel Magnolias, Tears of the Sun, Ted, A Hologram for the King, and obviously there's a ton more on his filmography. But I didn't
Yeah.
want to spend an hour going over his filmography because he's one of these guys that just has a huge filmography. Uh,
Absolute legend. Absolute legend. You're
yeah,
right.
and whenever he pops up, it's always like, oh, hey, there's Tom Skerrit. It's always a welcome sight.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Next up, we have Cindy Williams. Now, everybody knows Cindy Williams from Laverne and Shirley, right? In this movie, she plays Dr. Diane Gerard, who's basically a speech therapist who works with our main character, Bob. Um, like I said, she's most known for Laverne and Shirley. I think that's the film that everyone's always going to remember her for, the TV show for that. But I think what's interesting is she pops up in stuff like American Graffiti. She pops up, obviously, in stuff like Happy Days, something like Meet Wally Sparks. She pops up and a bunch of other stuff. You know what I mean? But it's always a welcome sight. At first, I didn't recognize her because I was like, wow, I didn't think she would do this. Like, not that this is any kind of prestige product, prestige film, but I was kind of surprised to see her pop up in this movie. And it was a
Yeah.
welcome surprise, of course. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That you want to talk about another legend of entertainment history. Cindy Williams is definitely one of those. Rest in peace. She unfortunately passed away in 2023.
Oh no.
Um, yeah, Cindy Williams. There's not much you can say outside of she was definitely one of the greats, one of the great female comedic actresses.
Mhm.
She was funny. She had a presence. She was outstanding in this movie because again, if you've seen Laverne and Shirley, those that type of comedy was more, I guess you could say, clean.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it's like, oh, wow, what? She was beautiful. She was beautiful herself.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I think when she passed, the world of comedy definitely lost one of its treasures. She's amazing. She's definitely one of the goats. Definitely one of the goats.
No, absolutely, man. I miss that style of sitcom too. I feel
Yeah.
like those type of sitcoms, I just feel like you don't see as much these days. You know what I mean?
No, no, you don't.
Um, so moving on, we have Miss Jessica Harper. Now she's playing Dr. Victoria Fisk, who's basically a court psychiatrist who's kind of labeled Bob as a menace, which I will get into later on. I promise. Um, but yeah, no, she's easy to hate. I can see by that reaction. But she's another one. Interesting career, man. She pops up all over the place. She pops up in the original Dario Argento film Suspiria. She pops up in Shock Treatment. Woody Allen. I know you can't say that name out loud too much these days. Stardust Memories. My Favorite Year. Minority Report. The Suspiria remake too. She pops up, believe it or not.
Yep.
Uh, Bones and All. The movie Night Bitch. The Old Man TV show, the one with Jeff Bridges that just came out, and then something recently called Fantasy Life, which just came out in 2025.
Yep.
So another one of these actresses that's just has a ton. And then I'm going to just round things out very quickly with a gentleman named Mr. John Finnegan, who plays Judge Ferguson. He's a character actor that's been in a bunch of different stuff. He pops up in stuff like Columbo for 6 episodes, Terror on the 40th Floor. He popped up in the movie Capone in '75. And here's a personal childhood favorite, The Amazing Spider-Man from '78. Remember that one? The TV.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Back then, us nerds, we had to take whatever we can get.
Yes.
As cheesy as it was, but I was there just like for the Adam West and Burt Ward Batman, man. It doesn't matter how corny it was. I was there every day watching those episodes. But again, mostly a smaller career, character actor. But he does pop up in stuff like Last Action Hero, JFK, School Spirit, Mars Attacks, Vegas Vacation, and a couple of Columbo movies too, apparently. So
Yep.
that rounds out our cast. At this point, I'll take a minute and then I'll just get into our story. So our film opens up. Obviously, correct me if I'm missing I'm getting something wrong. I'm making mistakes. Let me know. Our film opens up and we see a news broadcast. I can make words, and it's a reporter, and she's on a local college campus in California, and she's reporting sightings of a mysterious creature that's being seen throughout the campus. In this news report, we're introduced to two of our main characters, Alex Kaminsky, a college student who later on we learn is on the verge of flunking out, and his girlfriend, Kathy. And this reporter's, reporting there about this mysterious creature that's being seen on campus. And they ask their thoughts on it. And neither of them really believe it. They think it's more of like a myth thing. You know what I mean? Sometimes these things happen. Maybe it's some college fraternity doing some stupid prank. You never know, college life, especially on campus. And as they're being interviewed, we cut to and we see this bell tower. And in this bell tower, we see this hunchback figure with a big, not a telescope, but what are those?
Spyglass.
Spyglass, yes. I remember, I think of Spyglass. Whenever I think of Spyglass, I think of like any pirate movies. You know what I mean? You always see the the parrot on his back. You know what I mean? So basically, we find out, hey, it's not just a myth; it's real. The next day, we see Alex and Kathy, and their local campus is having a Renaissance fair, and there's this like beauty contest, and one of the girls is really ditzy, and she says pretty much the most stupidest thing I've ever heard. I can't remember what it is verbatim, but she comes off like an idiot. It reminds me of like that scene from Billy Madison where Billy gives that big speech, and then afterwards, the guy that's writing his speech, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to
it. Yeah.
It's kind of reminds me a little bit of that, you know what I mean? So Alex, not realizing, makes a dumb comment about, man, what a fucking ditzy broad, or something to that effect, effectively. And of course, her boyfriend hears that. Hey, that's my girlfriend. So they get into a little mix-up with this guy, and it almost ends up in a fight. But lo and behold, the creature stumbles down, steps in, and he comes into Kathy's defense.
Swings down.
Yeah, he swoops down. He swoops down like like we're talking about pirates, like literally out of
Errol Flynn.
Yeah, it's just like an Errol Flynn. I should also mention, while he was in the tower scene previously, he was kind of scoping out the one, Alex's girlfriend, Kathy. You can see
Kathy.
Kathy. Yeah, he's got kind of a little bit of it seems like a little bit of an affection for her. So he comes into the rescue, and basically the creature runs away because security campus gets there. Everybody's kind of frightened by this creature. He runs throughout the campus. There's basically a big chase scene, but eventually he's caught by campus security. And the next thing we do is we cut to a scene in a courtroom, and we're introduced to our villain of the film, Dr. Victoria Fisk, who's a court psychiatrist. And she says, based off the way this creature behaved, obviously it must be a menace. So we should lock it away into like a mental institution. I can make words, I promise, guys. And I promise I can do it. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. And Kathy, who has a very big heart, said, no, this thing was just trying to interfere because it saw my life in danger, and it was just trying to save me. I think you're misreading the situation. Another witness steps up to the stand, whose name is Mr. Dr. Richard Webster, who's played by Tom Skerrit, who works for the campus. And he's basically the head of the psychology department. And he says he thinks it's very possible to rehabilitate the creature. The creature's called to the stand and is talked to by Dr. Fisk. And he asks him who he thinks is better qualified to determine his fate, Dr. Webster or herself. And the creature repeats the last thing said, which was Dr. Fisk. So they're going to write the creature off. They basically think the creature doesn't have the ability to like put together thoughts and stuff like that. And kind of like a parrot is just able to just kind of echo, but basically, like he said, the last thing he said. She then humiliates him by asking him to describe himself as a complete and total fool, which he does. Because again, he's just repeating what she said. She is not a fan of this guy. The judge is just about to rule that the creature should be put in a mental institution, but Kathy stands up to interject, and the creature stands up and calls Kathy and the judge by their name because he he is able to make thoughts. He is able to put together sentences, and the judge is kind of shocked by this, and so is everybody else. So they basically decide to not put him away in the institution and to temporarily award custody, excuse me, to the university under the supervision of Dr. Webster. Basically, under the condition that if the creature behaves and he doesn't act out, then you can stay here and you can try to rehabilitate him. But obviously, you're on a tightrope here. And if the creature acts up, well, we're going to throw him in the mental institution, which is where I think, unfortunately, some of these people think the creature belongs. So we cut to Alex, Kathy, and Dr. Webster, and they bring Bob back to the bell tower that Bob's living at. And Kathy convinces Alex to stay with him and kind of become his roommate to watch over him, because she feels like obviously he was on his own for this long, but if they're going to truly rehabilitate him, he could probably use a little bit of guidance. And of course, Alex does not want to be hanging out in a musty old, rundown bell tower. So he's a little bit reluctant at first. But Dr. Webster kind of offers him a deal. He's like, hey, listen, if you agree to keep an eye on him, I can talk to your professors and maybe they'll give you a little extra consideration when it comes to your grades. And if we're being honest here, I think Alex is more motivated by that than doing the right thing, at least at first,
Selfish, yeah.
Yeah, he's seeing this guy as a like more of a burden, and he realizes also that he's failing, not because he's not smart, but because he's lazy, and he's about to flunk out. So he hears this, and he's like, okay, well, this is a way to kind of save my own ass. So what if I have to be inconvenienced for a little while? So over the course of the next several days, we see Bob undergo a series of observational tests, including speech therapy with a Dr. Diane Gerard. And despite his strange behavior, he actually learns the English language very quickly, and he's able to put together cohesive sentences. And over time, him and Alex become friends. Their relationship changes. During a session with Dr. Webster, the creature is asked to choose a name. And of course, this is where we get the Bob Maluga Luga Luga Luga. I think I got it right that time.
No, one Maluga, four Luga. But what was the name? So what was the name he first picked out?
Oh, it was
Judy Finkel. Judy Finkel.
Right. He picks it right. He picks the woman's name first, and he's like, "Well, that's traditionally known for a woman." And then he picks a man's name, and the man's name. Oh, but that name's already taken. And he's like, he tries
William F. Buckley.
Basically, as he's talking to Dr. Webster, we learn a little bit more about his life, and kind of like, it's kind of sad. We learn that, his father deserted him many years ago. And unfortunately, his mom died from an illness. And basically, after she died, a group of people came and they just locked him away in basically like a mental institute. And eventually he managed to escape, and he's been pretty much hiding away at the college ever since. While this is going on throughout the film, we find out again, like I said earlier, Bob's infatuated with Kathy, and Alex is struggling to get caught up with his studies to pass his finals. Bob is just striving to better himself because he wants to win over Kathy's affections. One day, he pulls out an engagement ring, and Kathy very politely turns him down, but in a gentle way. She's trying to let him know that, like, hey, I like you. You're a really great guy, and I'm so glad we met you. But, Bob's heartbroken. It's first love. He returned back to the bell tower, kind of, a little bit sad. And all of a sudden he gets a phone call. And of course, this is where our villain plays a part, because this evil Dr. Fisk is like, Kathy's in danger. She needs your help. And of course, Bob, has this thing for Kathy. So he's desperate to prove, Dr. Fisk is, of course, desperate to prove he's a danger. So this is all a trick. So Bob goes to Kathy. It's all a ruse. She's there in her dormitory, and she's perfectly fine, but he's freaking out at this point. So, of course, the campus security go to get him. Bob basically flees into the streets of Los Angeles, And again, we're thinking that Bob's learning. He's really smart. He's becoming friends with Alex. Kathy, obviously, he's growing an attachment to. There's a cute scene where he's with Dr. Gerard, the speech therapist, and she's basically he's basically reading a book, and he's reading basically like one of these books that like old ladies read, I would say, or teenagers. This like Harlequin romance novel, and he's really getting into it, and about and then he tore off her clothes and made mad passion of love, and she's like, okay, we can put that book away. So Bob's hormones are kind of raging, and she gets into this little cute little scene where he's like, have you ever kissed anyone before? And he's like, oh no, maybe my mouse Muka. And she's like, and he's like, have you ever made love to a woman before? He's like, this is kind of embarrassing to say, but I did make love to a Buick once.
Buick Skylark.
A Buick Skylark. And he basically confesses how he has this crush on Kathy. And she's like, well, do you know how to kiss? And he's like, no, not really. And he's like, she's like, what about French kiss? And then basically she teaches him how to kiss. But Bob's got his heart set on Kathy, who just broke his heart. So
Yeah.
Alex, Kathy, and the rest of Bob's friends. Now, the next thing we cut to is they appear on this talk show by this guy named Hoyle. And basically, Hoyle's trying to basically just kind of discredit Bob. Basically, they're all basically getting down on everybody for defending this guy, saying, hey, they should have just put him in an institute. And it played out like they would think. It's predictable. He wasn't meant to fit in with society. So Bob sees this on the television, and he feels like they're in danger. So what does he do? He swoops in, sneaks into the television studio. He snatches up Dr. Fisk, and he forces her to confess that she lied. She's the one that set up that whole thing where she said Kathy was in danger, and she painted him out to be this big villain. Once he forces her to tell the truth, everybody comes to Bob's aid, chanting his name. The TV host, Stanley Hoyle, apologizes to Bob for his remarks. And Dr. Webster suggests looking into a scholarship for Bob at the school. After that, basically, the host says, is there anything that you regret? And he says, one thing. And he comes over and he grabs the Dr. Gerard and he kisses her, And we have a cute little scene because you could tell that Dr. Gerard was actually kind of interested in him when he kissed her originally. So everything plays out. We get our little happy ending. I'll let you talk. Let me hear what you have to say. What are your overall thoughts? I feel like they're pretty positive, but I'm curious to hear what your thoughts on this film are.
Oh my God. So I'm gonna have to preface this. This is gonna be more of a back and forth as I talk through this because this is a first time watch for you, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. I'm so
okay.
Good.
And I've lived with this movie since I first saw it on HBO.
Okay, nice.
Back I think my junior year of high school, 1990, folks. This is a movie, like I said, that's just been on my mind here and there because since HBO, since a VHS release, I haven't been able to find it.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, you simply do not understand. You couldn't find it. There was no DVD release.
Yeah, I was
shocked
by that. Yeah.
You could find a couple used VHS copies, and good luck if they were any decent or not, until they released a Blu-ray version. You just couldn't find this movie. One of the things that I always thought, or I thought I had heard or read somewhere was, well, the reason why there was no DVD, there was no earlier versions of this, is because they had lost the film, right? They couldn't do a transfer. But what I have found out through the interview on the Blu-ray, folks, do yourself a favor, buy the Blu-ray. Okay, I truly, unless you are seriously not a fan of any type of TV, film, comedy, you will love this movie. Kino Lorber, when they put this out, they did so because they actually did find a copy of the film, right? They made a scan of the film to make it interpositive, I think is what it's called. And the reason why we didn't see any DVD versions of it is because apparently back then, who was Vestron was the company that owned the rights to the movie, right? They actually put out a movie theater trailer. It was supposed to be released into the theaters. They ran out of money.
Yeah, which unfortunately happens with a lot of these low budget companies. Unfortunately,
they ran out of money Went direct to video, the VHS sales, HBO. That's where I caught it. Now, I've seen this movie when it was on HBO damn near every time it came on. My brother and I would watch it and just be in tears laughing.
Mhm.
A good friend of mine, Lenny, he's basically my other brother. This was one of those movies we would just crack up every time we watched it. When you talk about comedy movies, right? You start thinking about what makes a comedy movie funny, right? Is it the writing? Is it the jokes themselves? Is it the portrayal? Is it the slapstick humor? Is it the physical humor that makes it funny? Is it the unseen elements, the things that you're watching that make it funny? Allan Katz, who had never acted until this film, nails all three of them. All three.
Absolutely. 100%.
You talk about the voice of Bob Maluga, Luga. Again, one Maluga, four Luga. Um, he just again just shows why he is a legend in the comedy field. The writing, the script work. I mean, there's a scene where the doctors are trying to examine, before he got his name, the Hunchback Bob, and you're watching it as they're trying to take measurements. You just see Bob just reaching over there and trying to stick stuff and steal stuff out of the doctor's pockets, and he's fighting. Little things like that. His facial expressions during some of those scenes just give the comedy. Tom Skerrit, again, a genius, or not a genius. Well, he is a genius, but a legend, right? The scene where, and this is where the physical, the unspoken comedy bits and the script really come into play. He walks in to talk with Dr. Webster, right? And Dr. Webster's like, "Hey, please go ahead and lay down, and we'll start shortly." So Bob lays down on the exam chair, the psychiatric chair, and next thing you know, he rolls over because of his hunch, right? He climbs back up and he gets back on, and then he rolls off the other way because of the hunch. That was hilarious,
Yeah. Little
right?
little pieces like that.
Little
Absolutely.
things like that. And then we get into the script, the comedy writing of this movie, right? Dr. Webster asks him, um, when you were growing up, what did the kids call you? Yeah, sometimes. Ugh. Just what? You, do you know who your mother was? No, who? Right? It's just, and then he asks, to pick a name, right? What name would you like?
Judy Finkel.
I mean,
Judy Finkel.
Judy Finkel, William F. Buckley. Then he sells on his name, right? Other instances of, again, the physical humor, the way it's portrayed. Alex is trying to study. Bob's sitting there with a book, and he's using that speed reading finger technique, right? And it's like, what the hell, Bob's speed reading? And then Alex looks at him and goes, he's speed reading. It's just the genius. Oh my gosh. You want to talk about some of the funniest scenes? Cindy Williams. And I'm going to ask you about this, right?
Yeah.
He's like, ball, bounce ball. And she hands the ball to him. He picks it up. Ball, bounce ball, banana, banana. She hands him the banana. Bounce banana.
No problem.
She goes through these tests, and they do the evaluation in front of the other fellows, and what's her name, Dr. Fisk, and she goes to the battery, and it's all well and good, and he does great, and then he finally goes, Bob, do you have any question? uh, what part of body this? She just simply says, oh boy. So what's he say?
Oh boy.
Well, pointing at his junk.
Oh boy.
It's that type of comedy. It's simple, but it's pure. It kind of reminds me. Remember, I don't know if you've ever seen it, or folks in the audience have ever seen it, right? The Tex Avery cartoon where the guy dies, he goes to heaven, and he has to explain his life story. And the angel listening to it, every time the guy's talking, the angel has a literal interpretation of it, right? Where he's like, so I carried on, and then the screen shows the man carrying the word on. Comedy, that simple, that pure. Three Stooges, right? The physical humor. This movie has it all. So now here's the question I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you were watching this, right? How often were you like cracking up or just like cracking a smile and chuckling?
Oh no, yeah, no, you can't help it because, like you said, I mean, I love physical humor, like you said, the Three Stooges and stuff like that. I feel like that's a lost art that maybe doesn't we don't see probably as much as we used to.
Yep.
So I love that, and there's a certain, I mean, I'll get into my thoughts in a minute. But there's a sweetness to the movie. It's a movie that you walk away from and you're like, oh, that was such a good time, and there's a lot to it. I mean, it's not like it's not packing a lot, but yet it's a simple movie with a lot to offer. You know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And
No.
sometimes those are the best. You know what I mean? I'm going to get into my complete thoughts once you
Yeah,
finish.
no, I appreciate that because we talk about this being a comedy movie. But again, going back to Allan Katz and again, the writing and his acting and his facial portrayals, going back to the scene with him and Dr. Webster, when he talks about, the last time he remembers seeing his mom. Dude, you talk about heartache
Yeah, yeah,
because it came through, right? So there's that moment of levity, and he's like, after talking through it, picking his name, then Dr. Webster goes, "So Bob, do you have any other questions for me?"
mm,
Yes. Why is my face leaking? Right back to the comedy.
yeah, right. Yeah,
It's great.
yeah.
I mean, even if I can't help but laugh because I keep thinking of things I want to talk about, but I play the scene over in my head. I'm dying. Like you said, he gets the phone call that says Kathy hurt. So he's running through the quad. Kathy hurt.
Yeah.
Kathy hurt. He jumps over a ledge, lands on some bikes. Bob hurt. Right? Then campus security tries to get some. Like, where are you going? Bob tried to save Kathy, but bikes tried to kill Bob. It's like, come on. It is so pure in the comedy, and Alan, just the delivery. Alex, uh, Kathy, Dr. Webster. But it's one of those movies that I think has encapsulated. We talked, I think, with Jose about like the lost art of comedy,
Yeah.
right? And how Pam Anderson is starting to show some chops for that, right? Cindy Williams, the goat, one of the goats of female comedians and how they portray themselves on TV and film. Allan Katz, Cindy Williams, even Tom Skerrit. It's just, you know, it's crazy when I watched this movie just how much I laughed, even to the point where I started getting on my wife's nerves because again, folks, when you listen to Bob, I mean, you listen to how he talks, right? Just the voice alone, right? Going from
Judy Finkel.
Judy Finkel to when he cusses, right? To set it up, right? The wife was talking to me something serious about plans for this weekend or something,
Mhm.
this past weekend. And I'm sitting here talking, and then I would like stub my toe. Next thing you know, I'm yelling out,
Fawkoo-Locka.
I'm yelling out, Fawkoo-Locka, because this movie just, there's something about it that has like embedded itself within my DNA that it's always there, right? To the point where even some of the bits in this movie have shown up in other shows, right? That because it's how great it is, right? The scene where Dr. Webster, he's like, tries to shake his hand, is like, hello, shake hands, and then Bob just grabs his arm and shakes his whole arm. You see a rendition of that in The Big Bang Theory with Sheldon, right?
Yeah.
It's that awkwardness, but it's comedy gold. It shows itself up. Oh shit. Speaking of comedy gold. All right, so I gotta ask you another question.
Yeah, definitely.
The scene where they're interviewing Alex and Kathy and Bob with the TV interviewer, right? And he starts describing how he is so strong that when I say the word go, and he goes, go, and he grabs Alex and throws him. And then the TV reporter comes back. He's like, okay, well, I gotta go. Stay, stay. No, I gotta go. Go! And he grabs the reporter and throws his ass. How hard were you laughing?
Oh, dude, I was cracking up, dude. I was cracking up. Like you said, the physical humor, man, is wonderful. And the
The
physical humor and the timing, because comic timing is a big key that people forget about. That's why comedy is so difficult to get right, because it's not just about dialogue. It's about comic timing, hitting the mark at just the right spot. And if you're doing physical comedy, the two are go hand in hand. If you're doing physical comedy, you got to have just the right timing. I mean, even if you're not doing physical comedy. So that's why I think comedy gets dismissed, but it shouldn't, because it's difficult to get it right. It's easy to get it wrong, like a lot of things in life, but it's very difficult to get right.
and that's the one thing about this movie is it hits all the marks, all the right timings. You said it, right? It just hits all those notes that this movie is somewhat important to me again because I grew up with it, you know, at the end of high school, watched it every single time with my brother, my other brother Lenny. When Kino Lorber put out the Blu-ray, I shit you not, I bought a copy for myself. I bought four other copies
Damn.
to
Yeah,
hand out.
man.
And you want to talk about again staying power. And if you've ever seen this movie, just how embedded, how impactful it may have been on you that you didn't even realize. Our mutual friend Troy, I gave him a copy for his birthday.
Nice.
The day after, it's like 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. He starts blowing up my phone.
Has he, had he ever,
Throw
had he ever seen it before? Or is that the first time?
Yeah, because when he opened up his, you know, I gave it to him as a birthday gift. He's
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God, I completely forgot this movie existed. I didn't even know this was real. I didn't know they had a Blu-ray out." So the next night he starts texting me. He's quoting lines, right? His first text to me says,
Judy Finkel.
he is telling me how hilarious it was. He had forgotten about this movie, but just how amazing and funny it was.
Yeah.
I got, you know, hopefully, well, my brothers, Sean and Lenny,
Mhm.
if they listen to this episode, which you better be, I hope you do. Thank you. They know they're getting this for Christmas, right? Because there'd be times when we were growing up, we'd be just walking somewhere and we just start talking in that voice, like, you know, John, what are you doing? I don't know.
That's awesome.
This movie is again one of those I highly recommend. I think folks, if you pick this up and you watch it, it's one of those things that you will, I think you could appreciate and maybe even start questioning, why can't we have comedies like this? This is only a PG-13 movie, folks,
Yeah.
and it is funny as hell.
But yeah, no,
You know,
absolutely, dude.
it
Absolutely.
is,
You didn't
you
have to go
know,
or anything. You still managed to make a funny movie. Yeah.
exactly, right? And again, God, never acting to putting out a performance like that, to the physical cues, to the physical humor, the written humor, just the subtleties of this movie is one of those that I am so glad that I found. I again, I appreciate Kino Lorber for putting out a Blu-ray. I'm gonna personally own two copies, maybe three, because I'm a nut. Because I'm gonna wear the hell out of one of these Blu-rays. I'm gonna wear it out because this movie, again, I'm running around the house always yelling.
Fawkoo-Locka.
So it's Fawkoo-Locka. I can't help it. It's funny. I don't know why. I love this movie. It makes me laugh. It takes me back to my childhood. I can't wait to eventually hear from my brother Sean, and my other brother Lenny, when they watch this again, because I've already heard from one of my other brothers, Troy. Like I said, he was blowing my phone up. He was laughing so hard. He
Well,
could. It was awesome. I really, you know, let me have it, dude. I know you enjoyed it, but dude, talk to me. Talk
yeah.
to me.
Yeah. So I mean, like I'm always simpler. I'm always a little bit okay. Very rarely do I every once in a while you'll see me go off on like a big tangent kind of thing. So mine's a little bit less, and not in the light department, but more like my overall synopsis. But I mean, it was one of those things I hadn't discovered, and I've seen a lot, and so I'm kind of surprised I hadn't. But it hit me in all the right places, right? Because it reminded me of like a little bit of like Encino Man, a little bit of like Walk Like a Man with Howie Mandel, as far as like that concept kind of thing, fish out of water kind of thing. But what really makes this movie work for me is the fact that the movie, besides having great comic timing, besides having some really good dialogue, besides having a great cast, the movie does has some tender moments. It has some heart. And at the end of the day, it might be seen as I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It might be seen as a negative thing to want to watch a feel good movie, but I can't speak for everybody else, but I'll speak for myself. I like a lot of art films and a lot of foreign films and a lot of movies that are nitty gritty. But I'm not going to lie, man, I still have a sweet spot for a good feel good film. Like life is tough, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. If it isn't, that's for some people, it's not. But a lot of us are tough, are working jobs we don't like, probably not getting paid nearly enough with the way the economy is. It's tough to make ends meet. You know what I mean? So sometimes after just having a rough week or a rough day or just struggling to get by, you want that comfort food. And this feels like a comfort food that I had never had in my life before. And it was just a really good, feel good movie with some great acting, some great performances, some great comic timing. It's just one of those movies. And it's one of those movies, like I said, I wish I had discovered many years ago, because it would probably be one of those movies that I go back to. There's always those handful of movies that like I'll go back to quite often. And it's not because some of them might not be cinematic masterpieces in the eyes of movie critics, but it's not because of that. It's because like I connect to a certain part of that movie, whether it's the comedic timing in the movie, whether it's the fact that I feel good after watching it because it is a feel good movie. And we, like I said, as human beings, I think we crave that to some degree. Even the cynical people that say they don't will still say that movies that have a feel good feel to it do make you feel good. Like even people shit on movies like Forrest Gump. Listen, say what you want. Pulp Fiction probably deserved the awards that year, but it's a feel good movie. You can't help but watch that movie and know, well, I guess some people just generally don't like it, but it's one of those movies where you feel good after watching it. You know what I mean? And then part of that's the dramatic elements, part of it's the comic elements. I'm not comparing this to Forrest Gump. What it does share is that fact that it does have some of those heartfelt moments, but it also has lots of moments where you're laughing and you feel good afterwards. And for me, as an audience member, watching it for the first time, that's what I connected with. I connected with the fact that I felt good after watching it, but I also got lots of comedy and I also had some tender moments. It's a silly little movie for the most part, but it's a movie with some substance to it. And it's a shame that this movie didn't get a theatrical release. That's quite sad. And it's also a shame that it took so long for me to discover this movie. But thanks to you, I have. And thanks to the people at Kino Lorber who put out a very beautiful release of the film, which again, I thank you for because you picked up a copy for me, which I didn't expect. Very kind of you. But yes, to all my audience members out there, this one is a movie that you're not going to be disappointed in. It's just a cute movie with a good message and a lot of comedy in it. And I think if you like those things, you're going to have a good time with it, guys. You really are. Like you said earlier, it seems like we're missing a lot of comedy these days. A lot of the comedy that's out there seems to be more geared for television, but they're not willing to take a chance on comedy in the big theaters. Now, before I put my foot in my mouth, yes, they did release The Naked Gun, and I realized that, and that was good. I think it was good. It's weird. I have a lot of friends that don't, and then I have a lot of friends that do. It's getting mixed, but I think we need silly movies that are there to entertain and that are there to make us laugh. I'm not saying you can't have those serious movies because I like a lot of those serious movies. I like a lot of movies with nitty grittiness to them or movies with action or different elements. But I think we also need those silly movies that just make us laugh. Like I go back and watch like movies like Airplane all the time. I watch movies like even the first two Scary movies. They were funny, man. They were goofy, but they were dumb. But they didn't mind that they weren't having a message like this one did. But again, they weren't trying to be anything profound. They're trying to make you laugh. This movie is giving you some moments of sweetness and showing a heart, but it's also giving you that other element too, which is making you laugh. And I feel like I think we need more movies like that, guys. I think more people, I think, would love to go see a movie that is just making you laugh. You know what I mean? They're gonna give you some great dialogue and some great comedic timing. And I feel like so for the most part, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but I think for the most part, that's something we're missing from the theaters these days. Occasionally
I
one squeaks in, but not as often as I'd like. So
Yeah, I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree with you. That's why, like I said, I've said it, you've said it. I love that this was released at this time. I love that, I could share this with you and, I get to our audience, to our family and friends. Please check it out. I mean,
yeah,
I can't recommend this enough. Just be prepared. I guess the best way to describe this movie is just folks, just sit back and take a listen real quick, okay?
Two speeds.
And that's what you're going to get with this movie. Two speeds in this movie that just I don't ever think I'm going to erase those clips, right? Because I Fawkoo-Locka. I just can't use that in a work meeting. Or maybe I can because it's not really a cuss word anymore, can I? I am so glad that we talked and that I could share this with you and that you could watch it. You know, have you shown it to the significant other? Has she watched it?
she liked it. Yeah, she liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. This is a movie. I think I don't see how you couldn't like this movie in one way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah, no, I mean it's like like I remember back in the day when I was in my early 20s, I worked at a movie theater, and I was professing my love for Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and it's like you watch that, my kid brother watches that, and I was like, well, your kid brother apparently has better taste than you, because it's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. You're not supposed to like pour over it like it's a fucking Oscar winner global film that is there for serious evaluation. It's supposed to be silly. There's
Right.
supposed to be moments that are dumb, but they're dumb to make you laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now again, this movie has a little bit more merit because, like I said, there are some moments of that movie has moments of sweetness to it too. But this moment has some moments where you're like, oh man, that's a real gut punch. Uh,
Yeah.
so I feel like people need to pull the stick out of their rear and just
Yes.
to be able to enjoy a movie for what it is. It's like
Right.
like it's like going to an action movie and complaining about the story. You
Yeah.
know, if it
Yeah.
has a great story, that's great, but that's not the point. But it has a good story to it. It has
Eh,
all the elements of a film that I'm looking for. And I think, like I said, I think it has a lot of elements that I think if Hollywood got their shit together, they'd realize there's a market for this kind of stuff, and they'd start making more movies that are, like I said, that have just are there for entertainment. You know what I mean? They don't
yeah.
say anything profound. They're filling a market that I think audiences miss.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, again, for a PG-13 movie, folks,
Yeah,
as funny as it was, I mean, another funny movie, Friday, but that was rated R, right?
yeah.
But you know, other movies, Naked Gun, what was that rated? That's PG-13 too, right? Or is that rated R?
I'm not sure. I believe it or not, I think the new Naked Gun, I think was. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to look it up, to be
All right,
honestly.
but
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure there was nothing there that was like too intense or anything like that. There wasn't
yeah, I
really
mean, well, yeah, you'll have to check, but
involved.
it's again for a PG-13 movie that it almost went to the dustbin of history, cinema
Yeah,
history, right? Until they brought it back to life. And like you said, this movie has disappeared for so long that I think folks who are willing to go out and I hopefully take a chance on this movie are not going to walk away disappointed. And as you said, I think this is a movie some folks in Hollywood probably need to go back and watch and understand comedy isn't just one element. Jokes themselves aren't um, gonna make a movie. It's as you said, timing. I mean, you talk about this movie from a comedic aspect. It even had some action elements, folks. Errol Flynn moments.
yeah,
Okay,
but
to which what to which one Errol Flynn moment we see Bob landing in a freaking basketball net, and it's hilarious, right? To those, you know, serious, heartfelt, like you said, gut punch moments,
yeah,
to immediately flipping back to comedy. And again, with this cast, Allan Katz, Corey Parker, Malora Hardin, Cindy Williams, rest in peace again, because I thought she was such God. Her scenes were just out of this world, like great.
No,
Because again, if you knew Cindy Williams from Laverne and Shirley and you hear some of her lines, you're like, what did she just say? Um, Jessica Harper, even though she has like, she's playing the villainess, she'll never be, you said Forrest Gump, she'll never be as evil as Jenny. She is like the perfect movie villain, Jenny. I mean, hate that bitch. But in Dr. Fisk, she plays that. Tom Skerrit, again, a goat, a legend. Seeing his role, I want to, God, I want to see, because you see some of his facial expressions in the movie, and I'm sitting there going, is he smiling because the script said smile, or is he smiling like, oh my God, I gotta stay in character because it's just funny as shit what just happened. I love that I truly love it, and again, audiences
yeah.
highest recommend.
Yeah, no,
Um,
definitely. This is a great pick on your part, man. Big thumbs up for me, to quote Roger Ebert. I definitely check it out. So before we give a shout out to other podcasts people should be listening to, I just want to make a couple big announcements for us that I'm really excited about. Number one, we're going to gear back into the comic book world, guys. Our next episode 78, we're going to cover two comic books. We're going to be talking about a comic book you pick, a graphic novel, Sergeant Rock versus the Army of Dead. So we got Sergeant Rock, which number one, pretty cool. And what's interesting about this, and I won't get too much more into it, our writer is none other than the man himself, Bruce Campbell, which I was in shock by. I didn't know that he did. I mean, I know that he had worked on screenplays in the past. I think some of the collaborations he did with Sam Raimi and stuff, believe it or not, like
yeah,
and stuff. I know he's able to write. He's written like 3 or 4 books, but I didn't know that he was into the world of comic books. So
oh
when you
yeah,
recommended this, I was like, very cool. And of course, anything with undead, I'm all about. So Sergeant Rock, honestly, I know of him, but I didn't know anything really about the character. So I'm going to save my thoughts. But so we're going to be talking about that. And then something I am really a big fan of, all the way back from the early 90s, I fell in love with the indie world of comic books, like 8 Ball, Stray Bullets. There's a lot of indie comics that are being published that were amazing. And back in the early 90s, the 80s too, but in the 90s, it really took off, the world of indie comics. And there's one that I really fell in love with, and it's called Hate by a guy named Peter Bagg. He did the writing for it, and he also drew. It was published by Fantagraphic Comic Books, and it ran for a total of 30 issues, and then it had annual issues that came out once a year. And last year, they even did a miniseries bringing it back for 4 issues. And it's something that's very near and dear to my heart. And we're going to be doing the first graphic novel, which is called Buddy Does Seattle, which is issues 1 through 6. For both of these graphic novels, we're going to try, when possible, guys, we're going to try to find ways for you to watch what we're watching for either free or what we're reading for free. In this particular case, you guys can go to your smartphone or your Kindle app and just download an app called Hoopla. It costs absolutely nothing. All you need is, I think, a library card. And you can, yes, just like that, nothing. You basically set up an account, you put your library card information, and they have an access to tons of books, tons of comic books, movies, audio things like music CDs and stuff like that, audio drama, stuff like that. And both these titles can be found on there. So,
yep.
So that's Sergeant Rock versus the Army of Dead, and Hate. Buddy Does Seattle. Now, if you really fall in love with this thing, which I don't think you can't not this thing, I have this massive tome. This thing is amazing. It's very expensive now, but you can find other reprinted versions. This is the entire 30-issue run. It's 3 huge, massive graphic novels, and this thing is awesome. I happened to catch Amazon one of the few times before it got expensive when they had it on sale, and I still paid more than I would have liked to, but it's actually worth it. But yeah, go on Hoopla. You'll find both of these things. And what I like about what we're going to be talking about on these comic books is they're both completely, totally different, which is what I like. You're going to get a little variety. You're going to get some undead. You're going to get some Sergeant Rock. And then you're going to get a cool, what I think cool, funny indie comic. So yeah, definitely check those out, guys, and play along. And John has got some other surprises, which I'll leave as surprises for you. So when you encounter that new episode, you might see a couple little minor changes to our normal format. So some stuff to look forward to. So with that, a quick shout out some people that you should be watching. I'm going to start off with Not a Bomb with Brad and Troy. This week they dial it back to the days of the 2000s to talk about a James Gunn film that is absolutely batshit fucking crazy, and in the best possible way. They talk about Super. Now, if you like James Gunn and you've only seen Superman or Guardians of the Galaxy, well, you're in for a surprise, guys. Go back to watch this and go back to watch Sliver, and trust me, guys, you're going to see a different James Gunn. You're going to see the same sensibilities, and you're still going to see his fingerprints, his filmmaker fingerprints, if you will. But the humor in this is just fucking nuts. This is a great movie. And then next week, I know I'm going to say this politely. They've already left a tease. Brad already left a tease on his feelings for it. They're going to cover one of my near and dear, and I don't think the movie's perfect. They're going to talk about The Spirit, which is based off a Will Eisner property. Now, I know nobody likes this movie but me, but I actually joke with Troy. I sent Troy, I know, nobody likes it. I sent Troy an email. I said, I would have joined you guys on this episode, but it would have been a retread of my appearance on your show when I was on Eurotrip. And I was the one lone man basically defending this film. So I think it's better if I don't appear in this episode. I was all in jest. Now, that said, I can recognize the flaw in that film. That film does have some flaws, but I will say Will Eisner is a god. And the comic book, while a lot of people haven't read it, it's definitely worth checking out the Spirit comic book, regardless of whether you hate the movie or not. But yeah, that's Troy and Brad with Not a Bomb. Of course, Watch Skip Plus with Mike and Jose. This week, they're actually talking about weapons. I think they just dropped that episode this morning. I was actually listening to it before we recorded. So check out Watch Skip Plus, Caliber 9 with Rob and Joe, Caliber 9 from Outer Space. This week, they're talking about Friday the 13th, and then Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. Of course, The Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema with Will and Sam. Now, Will and Sam, actually, I think we're supposed to release a new episode this week, but I think there was a glitch with recording, from what I understand. Sam was saying. Yeah. So I think that there's a little snafu, but you can go back and watch their newest episode, which I think came out last week, called Flesh, was directed by Paul Morrissey, which came out in '68. So that's their newest episode. So definitely check out The Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema. Of course, we have Raiders of the Podcast with Kevin, Tyler, Greg, and Dave. And this week they're talking about the Hammer film, The Curse of Frankenstein. And then they're talking about a movie with Albert Finney from the 80s called The Dresser. So check them out. And then finally, Death by DVD, with Harry Scott Sullivan. He actually dropped a new episode, which I believe just came out maybe today, actually, as well. So definitely check out that. And I think he's going to give us an update, because I think he went on hiatus with his show for a brief period of time. I think he's moving and contending with some stuff. So definitely check out all those episodes, guys, and all those shows. And of course, thank you guys for listening. We always appreciate the love. We appreciate you taking out of your time. We know you have a lot of podcasts that you can listen to. So the fact that you take time to show us some love and listen to our show and show us support, it means the world to us, because we're doing this. We're two guys with full-time jobs, with families and lives, and of course we love hanging out and talking about film. So it's a pleasure doing this, but it's always nice to get that little pat in the back. It's when someone hits that like button. I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm a needy motherfucker. I love that like button. I like that comment, just that little stuff. It's a support. It's just kind of like, hey, keep on going. You guys are doing good. So that kind of stuff really means the world to us.
We truly do appreciate it, folks.
Yeah, no,
we truly do.
It's awesome. So thank you for the support. If you really like the show, guys, like I said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you have a minute, everyone's busy, but if you have a minute and you really like the show, hit that share button, guys, because you might hit that share button and you might expose it to people that don't know about our show. And then all of a sudden, hey, we'll click on the link and we can grow our audience. You know what I mean? So if you have the time.
Oh boy.
It's a big ask, I know, but it's appreciated. So with all that said, guys, thank you. And like I said, we look forward to meeting you guys next week to talk about more movies.
And remember,
Judy Finkel.
Can't forget that. That's a very important thing to remember. Judy Finkel.
Judy Finkel.
So you guys have a great week, and thanks again for listening.